Hello everybody and welcome to another one of my in-depth airsoft reviews. I appreciate it's been quite a while since I've done one and I've had lots of stuff to review, just been quite busy recently, haven't quite found the time. HK45 I've been saying I'm going to do a review forever. It's one of those guns that is really good and I'd love to do a video telling you how good it is, but there are quite a lot of reviews out there which are going to echo that opinion. So I'm not sure whether it's really worth doing a video of something that I'm sure a lot of you might have seen other videos of. A lot of people have got this gun and are saying how good it is. I tend to try and make videos of things that you might not have seen. And so far I don't believe there are a whole lot of USP compact videos out. And that's because at the time of review, which is July now just about, I haven't found any other particularly good in-depth reviews about this gun, which is TM's latest gas pistol at the time of review. As you can see on the label here, it was bought from Wolf Armories. I don't normally buy off them. I find their website very hard to use. They really do have a new website, and postage cost quite a lot from them. It was £10 or £11 or something, which, you know, for a pistol seems a bit much. But anyway, £140 for the gun. I believe Fire Support now do it for £130. I only bought it from Wolf Armories because they were the first people in the UK to get this gun. As I said, it is TM's latest release. It normally takes a few months for them to get over here. But let's get on with it anyway. Usual nice glossy TM box. Nothing too interesting. As you can probably recognise, it's got that 24 styled font to try and point out that this is Jack's gun from 24. Trying to make a connection there, get people to buy it, I guess. But obviously they couldn't slap 24 on the front without paying some fees. So big chunk of polystyrene in the box, which is good. Keeps it in place well. And inside of there, got a Wolf Armories patch. I don't really put patches on anything, but it's nice that it came with that regardless. Your usual TM sort of info pack, the manual and the takedown guide and all the Japanese warranty stuff, which is as amusing as ever because it's a dog modifying something. Love it. Anyway, get that out of the way. As you can see, you've got a very smart looking box here. We've got this, it's obviously just all cardboard, but it's been printed very nicely. It's actually really nice high quality sort of card that kind of has a brushed metal effect almost. Very classy looking. You don't get many guns that come looking like this. And it's not held down by anything. Some of them used to have sort of straps holding them on or something like that, but this one is just held by that big block of polystyrene. And as you can see, you get a couple of different things in the box and a couple of things that are actually hidden inside the box. So if we get the pistol out of the way first, as you can see, it does look very nice. We have our unjamming rod, which not a lot of companies actually bother with anymore. That's something that most people don't bother with, but TM have always done that. We get our magazine with our extended floor plate, which is a pinky extension, not a actual extender for capacity. We get a small polymer rail, which is nice. Not a whole lot of guns that have special rail systems do actually come with the correct adapter, so it's nice that that comes with that. And hidden behind here, we have our usual assortment of BBs, a barrel plug, and those little follower pieces that allow you to dry fire the gun without it locking back. So pretty comprehensive little box of accessories there. And inside that is a flat magazine base, so that's very nice as well. Comes with pretty much everything you need, other than maybe a spare mag or two. So if we get that box out of the way, we can put our pistol together here. Got our rail adapter there, flat magazine base, and here is our standard magazine. So initial impressions are, as usual for a modern TM, very solid, well made, hardly any sort of rattle to it or anything. Very solidly built. Something I did pretty quickly was actually remove this extension. A lot of people do like that, and I agree that it does have that classic USP look. There's something about that profile that is very attractive. But I tend to kind of set up my airsoft pistols the way I would if it was a real gun, and for me, I don't particularly like sticking extensions on that don't have a real sort of function. You know, if I'm going to have something hanging out bottom of the pistol, it should extend the capacity or something. So I tend to take this off, which I'm struggling to do here. What you have to do is kind of pull this little tab in, but it kind of flexes rather than moves, so that's quite hard to do. I end up just smacking it against something hard. So if I just, there you go, tap the magazine base on something quite hard, it'll pop it out. And it's a simple case of sliding this one on. They're both plastic, as you'd expect. Actually, USP magazines, full-size USP magazines are plastic. USP compact magazines are steel, so this is realistic. You get a lot of airsoft pistols with metal mags when they shouldn't actually be metal, but yeah, USP compact magazine is metal, I believe. And there's our extension. It's got USP compact written on it. It actually says P2000, which is interesting they put that on, because the P2000, which is kind of like an updated USP compact, I assume will take these same magazines. Just like the USP compact 45 will take the same mags as the HK45 compact. Again, I believe, I could be off on that. Anyway, with this in, it looks more like a sort of classic full-size USP. And in fact, from a distance, if you have a quick look at that, you could mistake it for a full-size USP. Because you don't often see USP compacts with that flat mag base on, but I personally quite like it. It makes the gun very squat and squarely proportioned. Yeah, something about that I quite like. And for me, I've got quite small hands. That space is enough for all my fingers. I know some people do actually need that extension for all their fingers, but I think if you've got small / sort of medium sized hands, you'll probably get away with not using it, and you end up with a more compact pistol. As I said, you get a rail extension, which is very nice. It simply attaches with these little bolts here. It is plastic and the bolts are metal. Simply splits down the front, fits on like so, and you would screw it up, which again makes a very sort of squat and muscular looking little pistol, I think. Looks quite cool. I don't use that myself. I don't really tend to stick too much on my pistols, so I'll pop that off, but it is very nice that they do include that, so you don't have to go and buy an adapter. I've seen some insanely priced adapters out there. I think VFC make a steel one that's about $50 or something silly, but yeah, nice that it's included. Anyway, like any other modern TM, they've got the look of it just right. There's a slight shade difference between the slide and the frame, which is very good. It kind of does make it look like metal rather than plastic, which of course it all is. If you know anything about TM pistols, you'll know that they are indeed all plastic. Of course the frame is plastic on the real gun, but the slide would be steel. This is plastic, but it is very solid, very well made, and actually nearly sounds a little bit metallic when you're racking it. You can definitely see that tone difference, the way I've got the gun laid down here. As usual, I'm having to shuffle around the room a little bit to try and escape the bright light. It's been raining all morning, and the lighting was just right. Now the sun's come out. Unpredictable as usual in England. But hopefully you can see everything alright and we can have a closer look. So of course the gun is fully trademarked. Not officially licensed, but TM simply don't care about that. The whole idea is that as long as they keep these guns in Japan, they can put whatever they want on them. Which is why TM don't sell directly outside of Japan. You have to get it through a sort of a third party middleman kind of thing. But luckily we do get them over here with unmolested trademarks. I know in America it's a bit more risky and you might have them scratched off or something, but there really isn't much of an issue with them over here. And we do have these nicely crisp engraved trademarks. Well, they're not really engraved as such. I guess they're just moulded in like any other TM, but they do look very good. HK USP Compact 9x19 rather than the 40 or the 45. I have shot a real USP Compact in the 45 and wasn't too uncontrollable for its size. I was kind of thinking quite a small gun like this, quite a large bullet would be a bit uncontrollable, but it's a very nice gun to shoot, and I'm sure the 9mm one would be even smoother, would be very nice. Got our serial number there, which isn't unique like on all TMs. On the other side, you've got a marked chamber there. Chamber cover, HK 9x19. And the only things that really give it away that it is indeed a plastic toy is that Tokyo Mariko, made in Japan. I find this side of the gun looks a little less realistic. There's a little bit less going on. It almost looks a little bit toy-like on this side, really because of that TM stamp there. But flip it over and that looks excellent. I think if you took a good picture of this, put it on a gun forum, very few people would pick up on that this is indeed a toy. And yeah, when you look down the barrel you do see the brass, but overall very realistic looking, just like any newer TM. So I find the grip a very good size, fits my hand well. It is indeed a USP compact rather than the full size, but don't be fooled by that compact name. This isn't a subcompact pistol, this is sort of Glock 19 sized. And if I compare it to the HK45, which is a large / full size service pistol, a bit bigger than a Glock 17, this gun is. Really handsome pistol. They've got the same slide colour there. They're quite a nice pair actually. I'm happy I've got both of these. They go together quite nicely. You can see that it is indeed a shorter gun, but the slide, being an older design, the USP and the USP Compact are sort of a generation behind the newer H&Ks. The slide is very fat and tall. Compared to a Glock, I haven't got one at hand, but the slide is thicker and taller. It's a chunky pistol. And yeah, it isn't as compact as it sounds, even in length. If we compare these, it does lose about an inch over this gun, but I'd say it's very comparable to a Glock 19 rather than a Glock 26. I don't think this is something absolutely tiny that you could slip in an ankle holster, unless you're a very big guy. Really, for me, this is about sort of an average size pistol. A compact pistol would be something like this Beretta 1934, which I'm going to review at some point. Little Western Arms. Very cool little gun. If we have a look at this, keep in mind that this was a service gun for the Italian Army in World War II. Have a look at this. Really emphasises how this isn't a true compact. I mean, look at that. It looks absolutely miniature, this gun. And again, this isn't the smallest gun I've ever held, but it is very small. And in comparison, it makes the USP Compact look like a monster. So yeah, interesting little comparison there. In terms of ergonomics, I've always been a little bit 50-50, half and half with USP type guns or HKs in general, especially this HK45. I find the grip themselves and the general shape of the gun very comfortable. I believe these have got a similar grip angle to a 1911, and I do find they're quite slim. I find it a comfortable gun to hold. The things I don't like is that very tall bore axis. A Glock would sit massively lower in the hand, and that feels much more natural to me to have something deep in my hand. Find it a little bit ungainly to have this much slide above. But the main thing is this safety, and I just can't get over this kind of design. I get that a lot of people like it, but these just don't work for me. Same with the HK45, very comfortable grip, one-handed, and as soon as I want to do my thumb over thumb grip, you can see the issue there. I find I either have to ride the safety, in which case it won't shoot because when you hold it down it won't shoot, or I find I end up pushing it up when I'm shooting and then I can't shoot. I don't like things like this that have to be right in the middle to fire. You know, a little bit of movement either way and you're going to get absolutely nothing when you pull the trigger. And simply the way I hold my guns, I find I interfere with that. I'm sure a lot of people that do different kind of grips don't have that issue, but for me, the only comfortable way of me shooting a pistol well is like that, and that simply gets in the way. So something I actually did on the HK45 is I bought another one of these safeties and I chopped it off, so I just had a pin in there. This is quite a new pistol and I haven't been able to find a spare part yet, but I'm tempted to do the same and just remove the safety entirely. But in terms of function, it does exactly what it needs to do. It's nice and crisp. It is either a safety, which disengages the mechanism, fire in the middle position, or a decocker. So you push it all the way down and it snaps to the half cock position. Actually works a little bit differently to the HK45's one. This one drops it and then releases it a little bit more as you go back up. It's sort of a two-stage decock, probably a bit safer. This one drops it in one click. And I find the lever a little bit floppy for me, for my taste. It's not sprung very strong, whereas the HK45's is. There's not much play in there. It's a little bit floppy, but maybe that's what it's like on the real one. I can't say I remember, actually. I shot quite a lot of handguns that day, and I didn't really get a chance to fiddle with each one too much. Moving down the gun, we've got a big slide lock, very large. It is only on one side, unlike the HK45, as is the safety. Although the HK45 only has it on one side as well. Although we do have our mark here, so it would have made sense to have an ambi safety, but no, it's just a one-sided one. Something very interesting that TM have done is that the slide catch doesn't actually interact with the slide itself. As you can see, it stops about, I don't know, maybe half a mil from the actual slide, which means you're never going to wear out that notch. It actually has a bar inside that does the locking, so that's very clever. That's something that really annoyed me on the KWA and KSC guns, is even on the metal ones, it would eat away at the slide with that very sharp little notch. So that's very good, very positive little one. Something interesting is it isn't very strongly sprung downwards. It seems to be more of a ball bearing, either up or down position, as you can hear from that click. Most guns like this, the slide stop is sprung downwards. So you can, people call it power stroke, which sounds ridiculous. But you can just push the slide back and it'll drop like that. This doesn't work quite the same. It's kind of got a ball bearing system in, and it seems like, or a detent spring, and it kind of has to be in one position or the other. But it's still, it doesn't affect function. It works very well. Always locks back reliably. Grip texturing is quite good. Standard H&K kind of stuff. Quite good diamond checkering on the front there and on the back, so you get quite a good grip with this. And it's quite a nice slim profile, not too thick, about the same as a Glock again. Put the magazine in here. Again, I've got the flat floor plate in, so it's flush with the bottom. Feels good to me. Talking about the magazine, I believe it holds about 20 rounds or so, which is good for a pistol of this size. I think it's about 22 rounds, which is good. Got quite an interesting little profile here, kind of narrows on one side towards the top. Real steel, it's a 13+1 pistol, I believe. Like I said, I haven't actually loaded this to capacity, but it's around 20 shots, so decent. And you, of course, fill your gas through the bottom here. Now, the magazine release is the HK paddle type, which you push downwards instead of in, which takes a while to get used to if you're not already used to this. Something that I wasn't quite prepared for is actually how stubby these are. They're actually very short little release levers. If we compare it to those on the HK45, it's a very long paddle there, very easy to do. Kind of took me by surprise quite how stubby these are, but once you get used to it, it's very easy to release. I tend not to use my thumb because they don't quite reach actually. I tend to use my trigger finger. Just come down and hit it with my trigger finger there. And that works well for me. Trigger is very good. I was really happy with the trigger on this. I find a lot of TM triggers are a bit dead feeling, a little bit long. The HK45's one is quite good. Got a clear, crisp break, and I'd say that this is actually an improvement on that. Double action is, as you'd expect, quite long, but not too heavy. Very controllable, as you can see. And single action is really very nice. It's got a very obvious break point. You can feel it about to break. And quite a good reset. So yeah, overall very good trigger. You can get very nice quick shots off with this. We've got a metal plate here with a serial number, which is again not special to this gun. They're all common. We've got our little warning there. Overall, you get the impression it's very well made. Everything's nice and crisp, including that hammer there. as you can see, the hammer's bobbed, so you don't snag it when you're trying to remove it from a holster. If you wanted to cock it by hand for whatever reason, what you can do is squeeze the trigger just a little bit, get it to half cock, and then thumb it back. What I'm actually hoping someone might do in the future is release a spurred hammer for this, because I think it looks quite cool with a little hammer spur on it. But this definitely has its own unique look and is quite practical. Quite a good trigger there. Okay. On the other side, there's not a whole lot going on, like I said. There's no slide lock, no safety. We have got our ambi mag catch, and there is our unique rail, which TM very kindly supplied our rail adapter for. You might be able to see here again that slight texture difference and finish difference between the slide and frame, which makes it look a little bit more metallic. It has almost got a speckly kind of finish that does look quite metallic. Very good crisp moulding. The ejector is indeed moulded in with the slide still. It'd be quite nice if, like WE pistols nowadays, it is a separate part, but it doesn't really matter. And again, very crisp moulding. These look like individual components, but they're all part of the same mould. Disassembly is fairly easy. You simply have to, easy if you cock it and release that hammer. Relieve that hammer spring a bit, so you're not working against it. Get this up to this point so that you can, quite hard to see in there, but you just get this lined up so you can push the slide lock through, push through with this. A little bit tricky to get out, you kind of have to get your nail under there, and it's got quite a lot of resistance. You can probably hear there's a spring pulling against it, trying to hold that in there. So it's not going to come out when you don't want it to, and then the slide will simply come off. Something that struck me in here is that it's a very robust design. There's lots of metal, all very well built, just like the HK45. You've got a big thick trigger bar there, all very well reinforced. Now here is that interesting mechanism for locking the slide. It's a separate piece that rides up and down with a ball bearing to keep it in place, so you're either locked or unlocked, rather than just a hinging piece that's on a spring. Very interesting. I was kind of skeptical if it was going to work smoothly, but I've had absolutely no issue with this. If I put the slide catch in here, you can see how it works. This is the actual part that's locking against the slide, whereas this is just cosmetic. Very good idea, really. So that's good. Punch this back out again. Right, if we have a look inside our slide, which is equally robust, looks really good. Got a very large diameter cylinder, which is great for lots of kick. And as I'll get onto a little bit later, the kick is great on this gun. It's probably the snappiest little TM I've shot. Got our dual design recoil rod here. So we've got two springs. We've got a, can't remember if this is a separate piece or not. Maybe not, don't worry about that. And there we have our barrel with our hop-up design, which can indeed be adjusted from the outside of the gun. You don't have to take the gun apart to get to that, which again I'll show in a second. So if we put this back together, and I'll continue. Right, so gun back together, let's have a quick look at the sights, which are indeed metal. I prefer these sights to those on the HK45. Again, I will either mention this in a review or you know, if I get around to it, but something that I would have mentioned in the review is that the rear sight is excellent on this gun. Very big round dots. The front has got a very small dot, not quite formed properly. I'm quite tempted to upgrade this. It just doesn't look right to me, that very large rear dot and a very, very small front dot. It just doesn't quite aid my aiming that well. This one's a bit better. The front sight's better, bit better on there. It's quite low on the foresight, that white dot, but slightly bigger. You've got a shorter sight radius anyway, so I think they look a bit better. Quite small sights for the size of the slide and everything, well, rather than a Glock that sort of extends the whole top of the gun. These are a little bit more compact, but overall good sight picture there. Not really anything to complain about, and I'm sure if you didn't like them, someone's going to come out with some steel night sights and tritium sights and whatever in the future. There are already metal slides out for this gun. Mafioso Arms, I think they're called. They're quite a new company. They seem to be making some aluminium slides. Detonator and the usual ones. I'm quite tempted to get a stainless slide. I think they always look good on USPs, but they're no problem with the plastic. It's well reinforced. Feels very tough. And something that I'm sure some of you will be happy to hear, maybe Americans, is that I've been using green gas with this quite a lot. And although it's incredibly violent to shoot, I'm not too worried about reliability. So far it seems like it handles it fairly well. I've fired quite a few hundred shots with green gas. And yeah, it's quite terrifying, the actual amount of snap it's got to it, which is why I've actually reverted back to my ultra gas, but I wouldn't be too worried about stuff breaking on green. It just feels very snappy. The reason I've gone back to ultra really is that it performs just as well. I found that the HK45, being a larger gun, heavier slide, it's a little bit sluggish on the Abbey Ultra. It's not bad by any means, but I tend to use green gas with this. It just gives it an extra snap that feels really good on a large gun like this. But really, I've found that less powerful gas works really well with this gun. I'm going to give you a little demonstration here. And again, this is on 01 Pro Gas, which is Abbey Ultra rebranded, which means it's somewhere between 134A and green gas. It's somewhere in the middle. It's perfect for TM pistols. And I've never had one shoot quite this snappily. I don't think that's a real word. I haven't had one that shoots quite so well on this gas, especially considering its size. So I'm going to do a few shots here. Don't know if you'll be able to see. It gives a good shake down my arm. Really snappy. Power's not incredibly high, as you'd expect. Give it a little refill there. Some of the more recent TMs have actually been coming out a little less powerful than their older ones. I believe the HK45 is only around 260, 70 FPS with your Abbey Ultra gas. That's what I've read. I'd assume this is somewhere around 260, 270 as well. On green gas, you'd push that up a little bit. But I think for its size, again, it's not a massive gun, it's not a tiny gun, it's a comfortable, good size, and I think that's a good FPS. As I mentioned, the hop-up can be adjusted through the ejection port. Now, I don't think I've got the lighting to really show you, but it's simply a little hop-up dial just deep down in there. It's quite hard to get to. You might need a little toothpick or something to get to it, but it can be adjusted without taking the slide off. And of course, like any other TM, it's got a great hop-up. The barrel might only be sort of 3 inches long or so, but totally competitive compared to any other TM pistol. Better than any out-of-the-box WE or KJ you're going to get. Really good performance. Really no complaints as usual for this kind of gun. So I think that we've really covered most of the points there. Again, I know I don't go into performance too much, but with a TM like this, I really shouldn't need to. It shoots at a decent FPS. Its accuracy and hop-up easily make up for any kind of FPS deficit that you might think it has. And there's absolutely no reason why I wouldn't recommend this. I'm excited for the TM USP full size, which should come out at some point in the near future. I say near future, with knowing TM, it'll probably be a couple of years because we've only just got the resin model. But regardless, TM, as usual, keep improving on every gun they make. The HK45 was my kind of go-to pistol, but it is quite a large gun, and I find this little USP compact performs pretty much just as well. I think with a few spare magazines, it would make a fine skirmish sidearm. And as I said earlier, it comes with pretty much everything you need. If you want to stick your light on it, you've got your extended magazine bumper if you've got larger hands. Overall, a very competitive little pistol, and not a bad price either. A lot of people have still got in their heads that TMs are expensive, but really £130 is only going to be £30, £40 more than a WE, and you get a whole lot more, especially in terms of quality and performance. So I hope you enjoyed this review. I will indeed have more on the way. I've got that cool little Western Arms Beretta there. Might still do my HK45, but I think I've mentioned quite a lot of things about it in this video, so it's probably not necessary. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll have more videos on the way. Thank you.